I was raised overseas as well, over in Asia, and you've talked about how, we're falling behind among places around the world that, when we look forward in the 21st century, what can we learn from countries outside of the U.S. that are doing things right, that are competitive?
I think people are often shocked to know that we are 25th in the globe on, for example, math. And some of the countries that we are behind are countries like Hungary and Slovenia. And people hear that and say, well, how can the U.S. be behind countries like that? And so
how can they?
Really, it's shocking, particularly given how much money we spend in our education system. I think if you look at the countries who have consistently done the best, they really respect and honor teachers in the society, so that's an important thing. I think if you look at countries that have moved rapidly from not doing well to doing well, you see some trends there in terms of them.
Would you put China in that category?
Well, China's a little tougher because you've got sort of a somewhat closed society, and so it's not really apparent kind of everything that they are doing there, but they certainly are on the most recent international benchmarks doing extraordinarily well. And I think that in all the countries that have seen a real increase, you see the whole country sort of focused on education as a top priority.
Well, and people still flock here from around the world to attend our universities and our colleges because they would argue that this is where the opportunity is, and you just want to make sure that lasts longer term, and that our kids have the same sort of opportunities that we had and that our parents had.
The kids who are in school today will be the first generation of Americans who are less well educated than their parents were, for the first time in the history of this country. And I think that when people hear that, it's really shocking because folks assume, lower income, middle income folks, they assume that their kids are going to go to school, they're going to get a great education, and then they're going to live a better life than they've lived. But the reality is that we as a nation are near the bottom internationally on social mobility, which means that if you're a kid born into poverty in this country, the chances that you'll ever escape poverty are not particularly good. And that, I think, is really problematic because for people, for families who are living in poverty today, you want to know that your kid can escape poverty through education. They can live a wildly different life. They can live the American dream. And that's not where most kids in our inner cities are today. They can't look forward to that as a possibility because they're attending failing schools where they're not going to gain the skills and knowledge.
Right. And you brought up Race to the Top a little bit earlier. Yeah. How do you think that's been going? I mean, it's only been a couple of years, but do you think that's the right move?
Well, look, it's not a perfect program, nothing ever is, but what it did was it sparked more legislative changes in states across the country than I think America has seen ever before. And they were all positive, they were all aligned in the same direction, and I think that was a very, very good catalyst for change.